Stephen discovered he'd wasted 4 years of his life at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, sitting in his underwear with 17 browser tabs open, each one promising to be the thing that finally changed everything. Let me back up. Stephen worked customer service for a company so large it had departments that didn't know other departments existed. His job was reading scripts to angry people who wanted refunds for products he'd never seen. He was good at it. Not passionate, not building toward anything, just competent enough that nobody bothered him. The problem wasn't the job. The problem was that Stephen had mainlined so much content about escaping jobs like his that he'd developed what his roommate called opportunity ADHD. Every lunch break, Stephen watched videos: dropshipping, affiliate marketing, crypto day trading, print on demand, Amazon FBA, course creation, faceless YouTube channels, guys with rented Lamborghinis explaining passive income while standing in front of other people's houses. He'd start one, get 3 days in, then see another opportunity that looked easier. The pattern was so predictable, his credit card company flagged his account for suspicious activity after he bought his 7th done-for-you business system in 3 months. His browser bookmarks folder was titled Start Here and contained 247 links. Stephen wasn't lazy. That was the twisted part. He was working constantly, just in circles so tight he'd worn a groove into his own life. Sunday nights, he'd feel that familiar cocktail of shame and determination. Monday mornings, he'd have a new plan. By Tuesday, he'd see a different video that made the Monday plan look like amateur hour. His girlfriend Maya, who'd watched this loop for 2 years, had stopped asking about his projects. Not out of cruelty, out of exhaustion. The last time she'd asked, "How's the affiliate site going?" he'd responded with a 20-minute explanation of why blockchain-based social media platforms were actually the smarter move, and she just nodded and left the room. The breaking point came during a particularly bleak customer service call. A woman was screaming about a blender that had leaked on her counter. Stephen was reading the script, "I understand your frustration, let me see what I can do," when he tabbed over to YouTube, just for a second, just to queue up something for his break. The algorithm had learned him too well. 3 AI tools that will make you 10K this month, no experience needed. He clicked. The video started playing. The customer was still yelling. Stephen was nodding and saying, while watching a guy explain how ChatGPT could write entire ebooks that sell on Amazon for passive income. He didn't realize he'd been muted for 90 seconds until his supervisor's Slack message appeared, "Stephen, you there?" Customer hung up. That night, Stephen did what he always did when feeling particularly unmoored. He opened ChatGPT, not to build a business, but to complain. He typed, "I think I'm addicted to business opportunities that I never actually do." The response wasn't some chipper AI nonsense about believing in himself. It asked, "How many opportunities have you started in the last year?" Stephen counted. 19. "How many did you work on for more than 2 weeks?" 3. "Do you remember what made you abandon those 3? Stephen sat there, staring at the blinking cursor. He remembered exactly. 1 got abandoned because he saw a video about a different method. 1 died because the first week was harder than the video promised. The last one, he'd actually made $47, got dropped because someone in a Facebook group said the niche was saturated. He'd made $47 and quit because it wasn't immediately exponential. The AI asked, "What would happen if you weren't allowed to start anything new for 6 months?" Stephen's first response was panic, pure physical panic. 6 months? That was like asking him to hold his breath underwater. What if the perfect opportunity came along? What if he missed the wave? What if... And that's when something clicked in the worst, most uncomfortable way. He wasn't afraid of failure. He was afraid of commitment. Every new opportunity was an escape hatch from the boring, unglamorous work of actually building something. Starting felt like progress. Continuing felt like being stuck. The next morning, Stephen did something he'd never done. He closed YouTube. Not, "I'll check it later," closed. He logged out and deleted the app from his phone. He unfollowed every business guru, unsubscribed from every newsletter promising secrets, and blocked Reddit's entrepreneur subreddit. His brain responded like he'd cut off its oxygen supply. By 10 a.m., he'd checked his phone 6 times looking for the YouTube app that wasn't there. By lunch, he was experiencing what he could only describe as FOMO withdrawals. Every cell in his body wanted to know what opportunities he was missing. Instead, he opened the ChatGPT conversation again and typed, "I have 3 unfinished projects. Which one should I finish?" The AI didn't tell him. It asked him to describe each one, what he'd already built, and which one he'd think about on weekends, even when he wasn't working on it. That one was obvious, the niche comparison website. He'd built maybe 30% of it, then abandoned it when someone's YouTube comment said, "These don't work anymore." Stephen asked the AI, "Does this actually have potential, or am I wasting time?" The response was the first useful thing he'd heard in years. "That's not a question I can answer, but you already built 30% of it. The only way to know if the remaining 70% works is to finish it. Starting something new won't answer that question." It was so obvious, it felt insulting. For the next 2 weeks, Stephen's life looked weirdly boring. He'd come home from customer service, make dinner, and work on the comparison site for 90 minutes. No videos, no Reddit rabbit holes, just the thing he'd said he wanted to build actually being built. It was excruciating. Not because it was hard, because it wasn't new. Every night, he'd fight the urge to check what's working in 2024. His hands would hover over his phone. He'd talk himself down like someone avoiding a relapse. When he got stuck, he'd ask the AI specific questions like, "How do I optimize load time?" Or "What's the best way to structure comparison tables?" Not, "Should I pivot to AI automation instead?" Week 3, something strange happened. A visitor signed up for the email list, then another. Then someone clicked an affiliate link. The site made $12. It wasn't life-changing. It was just proof that finishing something, actually shipping it into the world, produced different results than starting 17 things. By week 8, the site was making $200 a month. By week 12, it was at $440. Stephen still worked customer service, still read scripts to angry people. But now, 3 nights a week, he was building something that compounded. When he got stuck, he'd problem solve instead of pivot. When growth slowed, he'd optimize instead of abandon. Maya noticed he'd stopped talking about the new thing he was starting. When she asked about the site, he'd just give her a number, the monthly revenue, and go back to dinner. The screenshot-worthy moment came 6 months in. Stephen was talking to his roommate who'd just bought another course. Stephen said, "You know what's wild? I spent 4 years looking for the perfect opportunity. Turns out the perfect opportunity was just finishing a mediocre one." His roommate stared at him. "That's the most depressing motivational quote I've ever heard." Yeah, but it's true. Every opportunity works if you just keep doing it. The problem was never finding the right one. It was staying put long enough to find out if it worked. The site crossed $1,000 a month on a random Wednesday. Stephen was on a call with a customer who wanted to return a waffle maker they'd used for 8 months. He barely noticed the Stripe notification. He wasn't rich. He wasn't quit his job level. He was just competent at something he actually finished. The lesson isn't that Stephen found the secret. It's that he stopped looking for it. The answer was always absurdly simple. Pick something reasonable, delete the distractions, and do the boring work of finishing. Not because it's glamorous, because starting 19 things produces nothing, and finishing one produces something. Turns out, just focus isn't useless advice. It's just that nobody tells you the hard part isn't focusing. It's surviving the withdrawal symptoms of quitting the dopamine hit of infinite possibility. Stephen still uses AI, but now he asks it to help him go deeper on the thing he's already building, not to validate jumping to the next thing. And YouTube? Still blocked. His brain can't be trusted with it yet. Maybe in another year. Maybe never. Honestly, he's fine with that.